It's time for a strong, positive message of faith that you can use to tackle the challenges of this life head on. This is the Intentional Faith Podcast. Hey everybody, it's your old buddy Shep Jordan coming to you again from the recording studio here in the man cave. Welcome to the Intentional Faith Podcast, and it's a humdinger today, folks. I hope you have your seatbelts fastened. Are you ready for this? Do you know what evil looks like? Oh, yeah. All right, first of all, though, full disclosure, I know there's probably about 8 million podcasts you could possibly choose to listen to, and I know how valuable your time is. So it's incumbent upon me, I want you to know, to provide value back to you through the podcast. Now, if you followed me for any amount of time here at Intentional Faith, you know that I will not shy away from what might generally be considered controversial issues. And God knows there's plenty of those going around right now. Now, it's not my intent to ever get stuck in the web of political discourse, but doesn't it seem as though politics is at the root of every controversy? Yeah, it sure does. No, my approach is always to take the problems, controversies, and challenges of life and look at them first through the lens of faith. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. All I want to do is suggest a new way of thinking about things by looking at them through the lens of faith. All right? And I hope that provides value to you. I hope you understand all of that. So let's go. Do you know what evil looks like? So I wonder, have you ever wondered or even considered what the world might look like, what the world would be like without any connection to God? How about a world that knows nothing of Jesus, who he was, and what he did for all mankind? Well, you probably haven't thought about any of that because for most rational people of faith, even if your faith is only the size of a mustard seed, that probability is probably pretty daggone remote. At least that's what we'd like to think. Now, today I want to suggest that it's actually quite possible. We're closer to that scenario than we realize or would like to admit. And I know that's a profound and provocative statement, but it's coming from the perspective of someone, myself, who's firmly planted on the back nine of life. And what that means is I can look back 60 years, and I can see how things have changed over that time. If you haven't happened to notice that God and Christianity are slowly being canceled in our culture, well, you haven't been paying attention. Now, don't beat yourself up too much because it hasn't happened overnight. It's been a slow but relentless erosion over an extended period of time. And it's been just subtle enough, I think, that most of us simply didn't see it or just didn't think there was anything to it. But let's be honest here. Many of us in our culture have become very good at just looking the other way and pretending things like this are not happening. I mean, we can't be bothered. We've gotten lazy. But here's the deeper question I want to ask you. Why is it happening? Now, I certainly don't need to remind you. There's a lot going on in our country right now. Hell, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a battle raging for the soul of our nation. If you don't believe me, that's fine. But all you have to do is turn on the news for any amount of time or spend time on social media. Folks, you just can't miss it. And so I have to wonder, what the heck is going on? Well, I think the answer is pretty evident, and I want to share with you what I think it is. But it may not be what you're thinking. And that's because the truth is clouded daily by incessant noise and chatter from a multitude of sources. And that noise is what distracts us from keeping our eye on the ball, not seeing what's really going on in the world. The answer, the truth, has been with us since almost the beginning of time. And the truth is, we are smack dab in the middle of an epic battle of good versus evil. All right, so you're going, okay, Shep, you've been watching too many superhero movies of good and evil. No. That's not it. It's a battle that's been fought since the beginning of time. But I have to tell you, right about now, I think evil's winning the battle. Do you want to know what a world without faith looks like? Do you want to know what evil looks like? Well, let me share this with you. When I was a boy, my grandmother would pick me up from school a couple of Tuesdays every month and take me to the matinee feature at the Beach Theater. And I share this because that's when I fell in love with movies. That's when I fell in love with great, epic stories. Recently, I watched for like the 10th time It's probably more than that. One of my all-time favorite movies. And one of the reasons it's my all-time favorite is because it's a great story. This movie was released back in 2010, stars one of my favorite actors, Denzel Washington. He's just the best. British actor Gary Oldham is also in the movie as the bad guy. And, he's such a good bad guy. He's probably a great guy in real life, but, man, he can really play the villain well. Many of you probably know what I'm talking about. And then there's Mila Kunis. She is the young apprentice-like figure in the movie. And the name of the movie is The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli. Now, maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't. I'm not sure it got a lot of huge press when it came out. In fact, I did not see it in the theaters. I've only seen it on TV. But it is truly a remarkable film, in my opinion. If you want to know what a world without faith looks like, if you want to know what evil looks like, then you need to watch this movie, The Book of Eli. Now, if you haven't seen it, or you don't remember what it's about, here's the official movie trailer. Are you ready for this? 30 years, now remember that number, 30. 30 years after war turned the world into a wasteland. And folks, we're talking post-apocalyptic wasteland here. A lone warrior named Eli, as played by Denzel, marches across the ruined landscape carrying hope for humanity's redemption. Only one other man, Carnegie, played by Gary Oldham, understands the power of what Eli carries, and he is determined to take it for himself. Though Eli prefers peace, he will risk death to protect his precious cargo, for he must fulfill his destiny to help restore mankind. Wow. Are you getting the picture here? Are you getting a visual? Now, those of you who have seen the movie, you're going to know the answer to this question, but those of you that have not seen the movie, what do you think it is? What is the precious cargo that Eli is carrying? What is it that he's got that is the hope for humanity's redemption? And now remember, we're in a post-apocalyptic world here. There is no law, none, and survival is a brutal day-to-day struggle. It's really beyond anything any of us would imagine could ever come to pass. Or is it? Well, you can probably guess that Eli has the last or only known copy of the Holy Bible in existence. The only one. All the others were lost in the apocalypse. And for some reason, it doesn't matter why, God chose Eli to guard the last remaining copy of the Bible. Almost no one, especially those younger than 30, remember the 30? No one under 30 has any knowledge or understanding of God or Jesus or faith. It's truly a world without faith. They don't know what they don't know. So why is that a big deal? Why is it so important to Carnegie that he get this Bible from Eli? Well, let me give you another piece of the story puzzle here for perspective. Carnegie is a small-time hood who is the self-proclaimed and recognized leader of a town, or what's left of a town, that Eli passes through on his journey. He's an older guy, so he's old enough to remember life before the apocalypse. Carnegie knows about faith. He fully understands and knows what's in the Bible. But he rules with a combination of smarts from having been educated before the apocalypse and through, of course, intimidation. You see where this is headed, don't you? This movie is a classic, epic battle between good and evil. There's a reason Carnegie is hell-bent on getting that Bible. And hopefully the reason is obvious to you. You see, Carnegie knows that if people saw or heard of the sheer depth of hope, redemption, and love that come from the pages of the Bible, he would quickly be rendered powerless. His control, his power, depends entirely on the people having to rely on him alone for their welfare. Hope, redemption, and love are the enemies of the tyrannical, the evil in this world. All right, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the movie, but I do want to give you a little bit of a spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, because I want to read to you a prayer that Eli prays towards the end of the movie. Now, I got to tell you, the friend that he refers to in this prayer is Mila Kunis, who is his apprentice. So listen to this, and as you listen, I hope you will agree that each of us should strive to live a life where we can pray this exact same thing at the end of our lives. All right, you ready? Dear Lord, thank you for giving me the strength and the conviction to complete the task you entrusted to me. Thank you for guiding me straight and true through the many obstacles in my path and for keeping me resolute when all around seemed lost. Thank you for your protection and your many signs along the way. Thank you for any good that I may have done. I'm so sorry for the bad. Thank you for the friend I made. Please watch over her as you watched over me. And thank you for finally allowing me to rest. I'm so very tired, but I go now to rest at peace, knowing that I have done right with my time on this earth. Knowing that I have done right with my time on this earth. I fought the good fight. I finished the race. Wow. That last part you might recognize is from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. All right, so what is the takeaway for today? Well, is it really a stretch to think this is the kind of world we could have in the future? I don't think it is, frankly. Sad to say, especially when you see what's going on in the world these days. On the other hand, it doesn't have to be that way either, does it? If you're a person of faith, you know that the future is firmly in the hands of God, exactly where it should be. Nevertheless, we all have a part, don't we? A role to play in what the future will be. So it all starts with a face in the mirror. We each have a choice to make every day of our lives. Will we do right with our time on this earth? And if so, will we fight the good fight, especially when the battle gets dirty and nasty? And finally, will we fight until the end, until we finish the race? What will you do? It all comes down to this. You're either going to be a Carnegie or an Eli. I pray you make the right choice. All right, friends and neighbors, that's a wrap for this week. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And if you like what you're hearing on Intentional Faith Podcast, I hope you will pass it on to other folks that you think might get something out of it also. And until next time, may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with all of you. Stay strong. Keep the faith. We'll see you.